All right, guys. Welcome to Dialed In, the low equity edition, the show where we dial into the leads that others haven't yet thought about. I'm your host. My name is Mike Jackson, and we're diving into all low equity direct agent leads today. Before we get started, I do want to give a major shout out to our sponsor, RocketBot Leads. They provide day one MLS data. They give us leads before anyone else even knows that they exist. And if you guys aren't using RocketBot Leads yet, feel free to go to rocketbotleads.ai and use our promo code, which I'll put down here in a second, to get a 14-day free trial. We're welcomed today by Lizane Mayer and Garrie Wein, and I'm very honored. I've worked very closely with both of you guys, and I'm happy to have you guys here. Lizane, why don't we, now you deferred to Garrie. So Garrie, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've substitute teacher as my W-2 for over 10 years, and I've always been interested in real estate. I actually started out in something that Pace Morby started as the Elephant Challenge, and was able to connect with both of the other people on this call, and just had a wonderful experience. And then joined Pace Morby's sub-community a little over a year ago, and just excited about making calls with you guys today.
Thanks, Garrie. It's interesting. I just remembered that the three of us have all done a deal together. Also,
we have. Yes, we have.
Which I just spoke about on the Get Creative podcast. So hopefully that's coming out here pretty soon.
About the deal we did together?
Yep, the one in Menifee where you guys were both on that deal.
Yeah, that was great. That was my first deal. Exactly. First
deal. Still talks to him too.
Yep. All right, Lizane, tell us about yourself.
So I guess we'll talk about more of the real estate stuff. I'm a single mom. I have 3 kids, 32, 19, and 13 years old. I have always been interested in real estate, like since I was in my 20s. I was like, I want to flip a house. Never got to do it. I ended up, I met Mike and Garrie. I guess it was, has it been a year and a half ago? And Mike has been detrimental in my learning. Not detrimental.
Instrumental.
Wait, which word am I using? Detrimental.
Instrumental.
You can use anything
instrumental.
Else.
Instrumental in my learning how to make phone calls. I had no idea what I was doing whatsoever, and in the past year and a half, I can't get over how far I have come, and props to you. And one of the things that's funny, because as you're talking about the RocketBot leads thing, it's hard to get leads. So when you can get them from something like this, that's super cool, because that's one of the issues that a lot of people run into. So it's great.
And I think the advantage of RocketBot Leads too is that it just, instead of waiting on the other aggregators to get them 10 or 14 days down the line, we get them on day one through RocketBot Leads. So
that's
huge
wild.
Advantage. It's one thing to call an agent who's had 50 conversations with someone from Sub2 or someone who wants to be a part of Sub2 and do Sub2 deals, versus someone who, an agent, for example, who has not received a phone call. So hopefully we hear some of those today. In fact, that's a great segue. Thanks so much, Liz. Since this is our first edition of Dialed In here, what we do is we call on low equity listings. We're going to have Lizane and Garrie call on low equity listings. I've provided them with some data already, and we're going to go through all the lists. We're going to see if there's interest from these agents in receiving a Sub2 hybrid, a creative type of offer. My job here is going to be to listen to the phone calls and help them along the way. If there's a way that I can critique them in any way, positively, of course, that's my job here. We're also going to be bringing on some people like Lizane and Garrie, who also have a lot of experience to help newbies who are going to be our guests in the future. So Let's get rocking and rolling. Let's make some phone calls. We're going to do this for about 45 minutes or so. And Garrie, you're going to start at the bottom of the list. Lizane, you're going to start at the top. And let's get some calls rolling.
Okay, I have one question for you, Mike. So these were just listed. Is that what you're saying? Correct. Day one, they just came on the market, right?
Correct. These are from a couple of days ago, but they still have not hit the aggregators yet.
Okay.
So I think one of the things that's important when you're making these calls is building relationships with these agents. So this, if you're the first one to call in, even though they might not be ready right away, for this, you continue to reach out to them, right? So you're building that relationship with them immediately. So I was thinking.
Other thing I like to do too, Lizane, is I like to play. An old colleague of ours, David, always liked to use the term Nostradamus, right? The Nostradamus line, which is, hey, just so you know, in about 10 days or so, you're going to start to get a lot of phone calls that are somewhat similar to this. Let me tell you how you might want to handle those phone calls. And you guys can kind of choose how you do it. What I do, which is a little bit different, is I say, if you guys do decide to go down this route, there's only a couple of ways that you would structure it, or a few things you would make sure are included in the structuring of the agreement. It solidifies you as the person to work with safely. In fact, if you look at our bottom ticker, there's a website called subtosafely.com where we have all of the things listed on how you can properly structure a sub-2 deal and best protect sellers. So I always like to play that Nostradamus effect so that I hopefully get in better with the agents than others who don't necessarily say the same thing.
So can we send the agents to this website then?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
No, not yet. It's not designed for that. It's more designed for investors to learn how to sub-2 safely.
Gotcha. Okay. So now can I refer them to you for more information later on down the line, or
you?
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So I think we should start dialing, and whoever gets a call first starts talking and the other person mutes.
That's exactly right.
And we wait. Okay. You ready, Garrie?
Ready.
Oops, what did I just do with my number? 5%.
It might also be best if you guys mute your phone while dialing, then just unmute if someone picks up.
Okay, just like we used to. Okay.
Well, I can't.
Hello, you've reached Chantal.
Oops. All right, where's my mute? You're asking me to do more things at once than I can. I typically can handle. Let me mute.
So the beauty of these leads too is that it comes with the agent's direct phone number, typically a cell phone number, and their email as well. So if you guys do sign up for the 14-day free trial, please use our coupon code to get that 14-day free trial. You guys can see all the data for free for that 14-day period. And a couple of the things that I like to include anytime I'm talking to an agent about a low equity listing, especially someone who is brand new on market, is I want to make sure that the sellers are protected in a way that very few other people do. Meaning, the sellers are going to need a promissory note and a deed of trust. Anytime a mortgage is kept in the seller's name, we want to make sure that they are protected by those two documents, not a performance deal. I'll get to that here in a second. A deed of trust and a promissory note. A lot of people will protect sellers with a performance deed or a deed in lieu of foreclosure. I'm not really a fan of that. You guys can go to subtosafely.com and learn why I find that more important. Let's listen. Let's see if Lizane or Garrie can get someone on the phone.
Everybody's still on vacation from Christmas, I think, right now.
I think that's right. I think by Wednesday, people are going to start to pick up their phones again.
Yeah, it's that slow back into.
And I just want to get a little bit of information about your listing on Oglala Trail in Temple. Oh, maybe that's you calling back. Okay, thanks so much. Hello.
Hi there, this is Caitlin McQueen with the phone. I just missed a call from this number.
Hi, Caitlin. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Hey, I just wanted to get some information about a listing that you have in Killeen. It's the one on Andalusia.
Yes, ma'am.
What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, for sure. So, it's a husband and wife that owns it. They're a super, super sweet couple. They just ended up, I believe, adopting their friend. They're just kind of helping out for the time being. And so the space just really was working with having another little one at home. And so they have opted to go ahead and find a bigger home for them. Otherwise, they're like, we absolutely love this. It was perfect for just the wife and I. And I know he travels a whole lot for work, and so he's just like, it was just kind of a time of, they're like, we would eventually get a pool, and the backyard just wasn't quite big enough for what they were wanting to do. So that's kind of all about the home. It is a 4-bed, 2-bath, just around 200 square feet, almost 2,300 square feet. And they've done quite a bit of upgrades to the home, and I can get them to you if you need me to. But yeah, do you have any specific questions that I could help answer?
Well, yes. Does it need any work?
No, it does not need any. So they just repainted the interior this year. There was a new roof and gutters installed of May of 2022, and that is still under warranty, and that warranty will transfer with ownership. They did put in a new hot water in 2021. So they've maintained pretty well. So.
Wow, it must be so hard for them to have to give that up, and you seem like such a nice person to help them do that. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
So, how long has this house been on the market?
We visited 10 days ago, so not too long.
Oh, wow. And do they have like a time frame in which they need to move?
Yep, it is completely vacant, so it is ready for the next to move on in.
Oh my gosh, they've moved already? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yes, they just wanted to make it super easy for showing all of that stuff. They're like, let's just go ahead and get our stuff out. So I know that they have some stuff out of the garage, but as far as things in the house, it's completely empty right now.
Oh wow, I hope you helped them find a new house already.
Yes.
So they're already in the house?
Yes, they have already moved over to a new home.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I'm so glad. So it must be hard for them to make like 2 payments, right?
I don't know as far as how all that's working out for them, but yeah, that is kind of the end goal, is just to get this one moved as quickly as possible. So.
Oh well, this sounds like really a great that my partners and I would be interested in. We love to buy homes and help sellers and agents out in situations like this, and for great family or one of our partners to be able to buy a house like this. So I don't know if you received any offers on this already.
We have not any offers yet. I know this weekend we did have quite a bit of showings that came through, and so that was kind of part of my afternoon today, was to follow them and see how the showings went. I know there was one gentleman that was asking, more questions than others. But yeah, that was just kind of my plan this afternoon, was to follow up with them and see how the weekend went.
Wow, that sounds great. And you had a lot of people at the open house?
We did not host an open house. It was just quite a traffic as far as private showings go.
Ah, okay. So at least we saw that the house is for sale. So that's always a good thing. Well, my partners and I like to buy homes like this and help sellers out who may not have a lot of equity, as in this case, right? And so is that something that you're concerned about, or they may be about?
As far as the equity, they do have a good amount of equity from when they purchased, so not too concerned in that sense.
Okay, and then you, as the agent that you sound like you are, you probably gave them a seller's net sheet, right? So they would know if someone gave them their asking price, how much they would get. They would net after closing costs and commissions and all that good stuff. Okay. So what we like to do in this case, and I'm gonna let you know ahead of time that you probably are receive a lot of calls like mine from investors because of the type of loan and equity situation that your sellers have on this property. And if they are at all interested in the way that we like to buy, I would totally love to be able to be that person can buy in this way. But what we like to do, we like to pay as close to the asking price as possible. We like to make sure the agent gets paid and give the seller some cash, but we take over their payments. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with those kind of transactions. Honestly, a lot of agents are not familiar.
We just closed one, last one for the one prior, so I just went through this process.
Okay, so it was not an assumption, but it was purchased subject to the existing financing?
Correct. Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. We love to hear agents like you. And do you know what we call agents like you?
I have no idea.
We call you unicorn agents, and you go to the top of our list whenever we do business. Yeah. 8
active lists, so whatever you can make happen, I'm like, I'll give you all the addresses.
Oh my God, that would be great. So I don't know if they would. So we're familiar with this. We would love to be able to purchase this in that way, and so it's, because you're their agent, they trust you to be their expert, a person that's protecting them and getting them the best deal and everything else. Of course, a conventional offer is usually what people prefer, but why should that beautiful interest rate go to waste, and why should they sweat it out while somebody qualifies for a loan, right? So do you think that's something they would be interested in?
No, I have not about that with them. As far as this home, I have not had that discussion with them yet.
Okay. Did you want to wait to see kind of what comes up from the people that came to the open house?
I guess let me do the follow-up this afternoon, and then if you want to shoot me over a quick text this afternoon and just say, how did it go, or something of that extent, just so that it stays top of mind for me. And then we can kind of talk more, I guess, this afternoon, and see what, as far as that would look like, and I guess what the price would end up being.
Okay, that's like a perfect plan. And so nice talking with you, Caitlin.
Yeah, you bet.
We appreciate you more than ever now. Just know that you are going to get pretty soon. You will be getting a lot of calls about this. And maybe you did on the last transaction that you did as well. But anyway, so appreciate talking to you. I will text you this afternoon, and we can go from there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Garrie, I love listening to you make phone calls. I freaking love it because you get away with things that I can't get away with. It makes me very, very jealous. Since Lizane, you were listening to the phone call, what did you pick up on from Garrie's phone call?
My favorite thing was the 2 payment thing. Like she caught that and she jumped on that right away. I was like, oh, that's so true. A lot of times I miss stuff like that when I'm talking to people. But that was like, I was like, oh, that 2 payment thing is fantastic, because they're paying 2 mortgages, right?
And I think that's a great way to say it too, because what Garrie, you do really well is you slow it down in a way that personally I don't feel comfortable with, but you do it perfectly. You slow it down. You also, the way that your tone work with the agents is so perfect, and it allows you to ask questions that I couldn't ask. You know, for example, if I were to say things even at the very beginning, how are you doing, Mrs. Agent? I would get a very different tone than you would in response.
They'd be like, well, what do you want? Right?
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
Well, I think we have to work with our own personalities, right? Because everybody has different ways that they build relationships and things they're comfortable with. And, you know, we know that scripts really don't work, but kind of information that you need to get is important. But everybody does it their own way. But thank you guys so much for that.
No, you killed it on that phone call. You picked up on the fact that this house is vacant. And that leads me to exactly what Lizane was saying, which is because it's vacant, now they have multiple payments, right? We've identified that there's a loan on this property. And so they have to keep making this payment until it sells, but they also have to make a payment wherever they are, whether it's a rental payment or a mortgage payment. So that's such a stressor for a lot of sellers. So you picked up on that perfectly. I also love the fact that you said something to the effect of, you went down the road of, have you done one of these transactions before? She mentioned that her last transaction.
That was fantastic. Yes.
That was incredible that she has, you know.
And then you
but
built
what
her
I
back
noticed,
up, right?
Yeah. And nice about the leads that we're getting are so fresh that, or right, the tone of the conversation that you get with an agent, you know, she's not received 20 phone calls already. And so could be, I mean, even though this agent is familiar with the way that we like to buy, that the lead's so fresh that you have this fresh, you know, you it's kind of a conversation that is people are hanging up on you, which we know happens when agents receive calls like this, or they're not familiar with this kind of the way that we buy. But these leads seem like they're really, really good.
Well, you know, I think one of the things that we've all experienced when we call a low equity listing, how many times have we called an agent and the first thing that they say, they don't even say hello. It's, are you calling about a subto? If so, I'm hanging up.
Right.
Something
Over
like
and over. They're so over it with all the phone calls that they're getting.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. All right, great. Anything else you want to add, Lizane, to Garrie's phone call at all? I thought you killed it on that phone call. Your rapport building was perfect. Your tone was perfect. I thought you did great.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how she makes calls too. I miss making calls. I haven't made calls with Garrie in so long. And we have
calls together.
And
I know I missed that too.
we have very different styles, and even Mike, has a very different style, and it's so nice because it listening to you, because it reminds me of things that I can change and should be doing, so that was great. That was great. And she always builds these great relationships.
Always. You never ever want to follow Garrie calling an agent, because you know that there's no way you're ever going to get in good with that agent the same way that Garrie would.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
It's
Great
true.
job, Garrie. Let's hop on the next call.
All right.
Let's see how the next one goes. Garrie, that's your lead. Work it as much as you want.
Okay, great. And I can work with you on that too.
If you so choose.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Ooh, let me mute. Sorry, guys.
Hello.
Laura.
Yes.
Hi, this is Lizane. How are you?
Good.
I am calling about Sea Oat Circle. I think it was just listed recently, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had a lot of calls on it?
We have. We've had a couple of calls and no showings yet.
Okay. What so just people kind of like digging around for information on it?
People digging around.
Okay. Tire kickers.
You never know. One was going out of town, and we couldn't accommodate them, and they're coming back in about 2 weeks. So
okay, that's great.
They seem pretty serious. Yeah, were you looking to buy it, or?
I am looking. I'm looking for very specific types of houses right now. And this one falls into the category. I don't know if you've had anybody call about taking over payments on it because it doesn't have a lot of equity. Have you had any of those calls yet?
I have never. No.
Okay. Have you ever done anything like that?
No. So why would just tell me why somebody would want to do that? Is it somebody that's running low on funds, or what's the gig there?
So there's a lot of reasons, and I'll start with just telling you this. It's called subto, is what it's called. There's different ways we can do it as well to protect the seller, because you have to protect the seller when you're doing this. A lot of times it's because people don't have any equity in the house, and they're going to come out of pocket, or they're hardly going to, make anything on it. So what we look at is we are looking at the interest rate on it. And typically it has a fantastic interest rate that in today's time, with the prices of houses, that we don't want to throw that in the garbage, right? So it gives us the opportunity to offer more, closer to the asking price on a home, and to get the seller some money, as opposed to often them coming out of pocket on it, just because they don't have the equity in it. And then the interest rate is saved, and in our purchase, we're not drowning in home debt, right? If that makes any sense.
Oh, and people do this with you a lot?
We have done, oh my gosh, yeah, we do this. This is what we do. So yeah, we do this a lot, and we, there's always people that you could talk to, or other agents that we can connect with.
This would be people that are financially strapped. Right?
Typically, it's people that are financially strapped. This is funny, because before I started working with this company that does this, I had sold my house this way, but I did what we call a hybrid. So I had the people who bought my house, and I didn't even know that this was a thing, but they took over my payment because my mortgage rate was 3.1%. And then I created a separate note, and they pay me every month on that, right? So they already paid down the mortgage on the other half of the house when they bought it, and they've only had it now for 2 years, but they make good money. So they're in real estate as well, like you. They're agents, and they do really well. So they already paid that down. But yeah, so you can do it.
And how does it benefit you?
It keeps our monthly payment down, because the interest,
let's say, but you're calling me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make money doing this?
So I'm going to rent the property out. Either I'm going to rent it out, or one of my partners. Yes, ma'am. One of my.
So it's already rented. So I guess this won't work with this one, right?
No, not necessarily. It just depends on how much they're paying every month, the people who are in there renting, and if it makes sense. So we would have to just look at the numbers and make sure that what they're paying covers the mortgage that that is current right now, and that there's some cash flow there.
All right. Well, if you want to send me an email, it sounds like a lot of work for me and no benefit for me.
Oh, we're
trying to
paying
explain
you.
this to-
Oh, no. We're going to pay the closing costs, and we're going to pay you as well.
Oh, so you're buying it.
We're buying it, and we're going to pay the closing costs, and we're going to cover your commission, so the seller doesn't have to cover it.
Oh, okay. And so you're looking for like really good values that are like below market, obviously.
Nope. We're looking for houses that we can pay what they're asking for. Or right?
Okay.
And the reason
So
we
would
can
you
go ahead.
Okay. So you're going to buy it and you're going to pay fair market value.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're going to pay. So why don't you just make an offer?
I can do that.
Yeah. Why don't we just make an offer and see what he says?
Okay. So what I can do is we can write up the paperwork and send that to you. What I'm going to do right now, because there's so many questions around doing a sale like this for you, I want you to feel completely comfortable with doing it, and the seller's going to have a lot of questions too. So I think what we should do is I will write the offer up just in a very base. I'm not putting on contract yet, so we can have a discussion about exactly how this is going to work. So I think what we'll do is I'll send that to you. You can present it to them, and then we can set up either a phone call or like a Zoom with all of us, so we can all have the questions answered.
That sounds good.
Wonderful. You sound like a fabulous agent, and I think they're really lucky to have you representing them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And whatever you send, we'll look at and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, Laura, let me double check your email real quick. Is it your last name and then first name with the number 8 at AOL?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And what's the name of your company?
My name is Liz Mayer, and the company I'm working with is Revitalized Properties, and I'm going to email that to you.
Okay, I'm just going to Google you.
No worries. The Revitalized is re-vitalized.com.
Okay. Let me check on this, and we'll take it from there.
Wonderful. Okay, we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, bye, Laura.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good memory, Lizane. Really good memory.
Well, I worked for you for a while.
That call was exceptional. Garrie, what are your thoughts?
Job, you addressed her concerns, and because she understand how she was going to pay it or how that was going to work, that you allayed her fears right away. And I love the way you did to explain some of the benefits, but that you offered to write her like a proposal LOI, even though you didn't use that terminology, instead of a contract, and the reasons for that, which are so important. When an agent doesn't understand these transactions, you have to take them slowly through it. And I think you did a real job leading her down that path. And then you complimented her, which is always important with agents, because they're like us. They don't get paid.
Garrie, I learned that from you. I did. I learned that from you, because you're always telling me, make sure that you're complimenting them. And that's where I learned it.
So what do you think, Mike?
I thought, Lizane, you killed it. I thought that the call was really interesting for a lot of reasons for me. First off, brand new on market, lots of activity, no sub-2 offers yet, right? On your sheet, can you tell me what the equity percentage is on that? Or what we had them walking away with? Because that is part of the data, right?
I forget.
Cash to seller. That's okay. So, the property's been on the market for a couple of days and no sub-2 offers. So you are the first person in there, huge advantage right there. The other part of it is because she has never done a subject to deal or even understanding it, you have the advantage of going in there and educating her on why it's beneficial for her, right? And, one thing that I think that you missed, which she actually came back around on, was, well, why does this benefit me And so you could have led with, hey, part of our process is we make sure the sellers get what it is that they're looking for. They walk away with some cash in their pocket, usually more than what they would walk away with the traditional sale, because we're paying the agent's commission directly from our side. You are getting your full commission.
That's perfect.
So I need to put that together, because I was saying, well, if they have no equity, that we can come closer to but I need to make sure that I'm letting them know at that point that we're going to pay. It also helps because we're paying your commission and we're paying the closing costs. So the seller is, we can get that money in their pocket. So make sure I throw that in at the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Kind of like what Garrie talked about with her agent when she said, I'm sure that you wrote up a net sheet for your sellers. We do this calculation, and in the data that RocketBots provides us, it says what the equity position is and also what the cash to seller is.
Mm-hmm.
So we know going in what they're most likely expecting. And so if you layer those advantages, right? Hey, it looks like with the traditional sale, the sellers are, maybe going to break even or maybe even have to pay to close potentially. The way that we structure our offers is such that we pay your commission, we pay all the closing costs. Because we pay all of those, it provides us with the opportunity to give the sellers cash at closing, as long as we're able to take over the payments on the loan.
Okay.
Yep. The other thing that I was going to mention too is she gave you a really big opening for why it's beneficial for you. And you could just walk through the door of, you piggyback basically why it's beneficial for the sellers and for the agent, right? It's their commission. They walk away with cash. For us, and you end with it basically on sort of this low note of, look, we just get a much better rate than we would if we were to go to a bank currently.
Okay.
Yeah. Something super simple. It's easy to go to an agent and say, hey, have you looked at these investor rates recently? It looks like they're in the 7s, possibly even up to 8s, depending on how many properties I own and what my credit score is. It looks like this house is at 4%. This would be a much better deal for me to buy it at this rate than it would for me to get a brand new loan.
Okay.
I wrote down a couple of other things too. So that was the advantage of sub-2. The other is she said something to the effect of, it sounds like this is only for people who are financially strapped.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was like, well, no, because this is how I sold my house, because we were saving the interest rate, right? I'm like, no, I did a hybrid. That's what I was, which thankfully, I did. So it's easy for me to come up with that, because I'm like, oh, that's actually what I did. So
no, but that leads to your credibility, because you can use your personal expense to put into that. And so even though she's going to look up revitalized.com with the hyphen, that she is, you have that credibility by adding not only your experience, but that we buy like this. So that helps give them confidence that what you're telling them is real, and that you're a bona fide buyer.
Yeah.
That's a great point. And I think that with your personal story, Lizane, you have so much strength behind that, right? Because you have the personal experience of going through it yourself. And in fact, what I would do is something to the effect of, when a question like, it sounds like this is really only for financially strapped people or people who are doing this or that or whatever the excuse is, that's a great opportunity for you just to lay into your story. Hey, the reason I started to do this is because I did exactly the same thing that I'm talking about doing with you guys, way before I even started to invest this way. In fact, the reason that I got into the investment side of this is I found so much benefit for the seller because I was the seller, or I was the buyer, depending on how you're doing it. And in fact, what I learned is I learned how to properly structure it so that the seller, in my case, I was the seller. I made sure that I knew everything that I needed to protect myself from, and I implement that with every single deal that I do from now on.
Oh, I love that. See, this is how I learned from listening to your calls because you're so good, Mike.
That's generous, but it's
butter.
Mike is
It
my
really-
teacher on this. You were my teacher on this, and I learned so much from you. And it's great because I developed a style that complements your style. Your style complements my style when we work together, and Lizane as well. So, but I did learn from you, so I'm from the best. So I
generous,
appreciate
Garrie. Thank you so much. That's nice of you to say.
Okay.
So both of you guys have made fantastic phone calls. Do you guys want to make one more phone call each, see if we can get a hold of somebody?
We can see if we can get a hold of somebody. Yep.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get a hold of somebody.
Right.
Garrie, it sounded like you got a bunch of calls in while you were on your phone call, right?
I am. Yeah, she had incoming calls. I heard it beeping. So she has more calls coming in.
I have an incoming call, so yeah. So I'm probably going to call that agent back, and that's great.
I'm going to write down the information on this for Mike right now.
Right. Yeah.
While you're dialing, okay?
And again, this is your lead. I don't want it unless you're going to pass it off. This is you.
But you would work with us on that, right? We could work
absolutely.
together on that.
Whatever you guys want.
Okay.
Lizane, where's that deal?
This one's in Melbourne Beach,
Florida.
Yeah, it's an FHA. I'm writing it, and then I'll email it to you. So we have this. Oh, I can put it so you know which one it is in the chat, right?
That is a public chat. Why don't you text me the address if you don't mind? And Garrie, make one more phone call. If you can't get a hold of the agent, let me know. What I want to do is go on PropStream really fast and kind of do a walkthrough, Lizane, of that deal that you just talked to, since it's fresh.
Right.
Okay. That's great. All right, I'm going to make one more call.
Let me text you the address. Okay.
Got it. Garrie, do you have the address for that one that you called?
She's still checking her messages, I think. You're muted still, Garrie. So if you have a call.
So I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about that Ogallala Trail house in Tempe. Temple, Texas.
So it's 4 bedroom, 3 bath.
Okay.
Almost 300 square feet. I actually live around the corner from it. It's one of my neighbors. So he's looking to move to San Antonio. So he's selling the house now. So I'm at 350, I believe. And The house was just built about 2 or 3 years ago. He's a first and owner of the home. And more photos for him because he just, like I said, he just had a lot of moving pieces. So I'll get some more photos and do an open house here next week. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Granite County, ceramic floor, splash. My other question do you have?
Well, it's like a really great house. It's so cool that you live in the neighborhood, so you're familiar. What can you tell me about the neighborhood? What do you like about it?
Oh, are you dominantly a military town? You've got Temple, Killeen. So this neighborhood is a lot more retirees.
Ah.
We're about 25 minutes away from the Army base. So you have some soldiers that can move out here. I am currently still active duty, so I've moved out here, but I'm about to retire too. so it's like one of those ways you just kind of get away from some of the large cities, but it's still kind of up and coming as well. This community is a relatively new just here. So they're still doing a lot of, I guess, construction, things of nature, just, building new homes and some elementary school. You have a mall that's kind of down the street as well that you need. But the city itself is kind of building itself up and up and coming.
Wow, that sounds like a great area. Oh, congratulations that you're retiring in the military. Were you able to buy your house on the VA loan as well?
I was.
Oh, that's such a benefit to the military. I'm so glad that we do that, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So, why are the owners being your sellers?
So he's just, like I said, he had a new job opportunity in San Antonio. So that's kind of, he doesn't want to. San Antonio is about 2.5 hours away from here. He's not going to drive back and forth. He's just looking to sell this house, going to move into another home down there, and then kind of just move on from this property.
Oh, that's interesting. San Antonio. Actually, my husband just started working with a firm in Austin, but they have him working on a project in San Antonio, and I can't wait to go spend some time with him so I can check it out. But it's such a great place. Were you able to find a house for them already?
No. So they're waiting for this one to sell first, and then they might rent for a little bit. But then they're actively looking. Right now, they actually have a family member that is actually going to sell. They're gonna buy a home from this. That's a realtor, so kind of lucked out getting this one. so it's all right. I think they haven't anything there.
Okay, so they're still in the house?
Yeah, they're still in the house right now.
Oh, wow. And so when did you say that they bought it in?
So they bought it. In 2022, in September.
Oh, wow. So they lived there very long. Well, I'm sure it's very comforting for them to have you as a realtor, and you like a super nice person as well as you understand being in the military yourself. You able, when they have a VA loan, right? And so normally if they haven't been in the house very long, they don't really have equity. Were you able to give them like a seller's net sheet?
I have not been able to.
Okay, well, that's perfectly understandable. And so what happens is, as I'm sure you're aware because you have a mortgage, is that when you haven't owned the house very long, you don't have much equity. And so if you try to set it in the traditional way, many times, the seller actually would have to come out of pocket to pay closing costs and commissions, and they don't, and that's difficult to have to pay to your house, right?
Yeah.
So what we do, I'm part of a group of investors, and we love to help families out, especially our incredible Miller families who need to sell their house, and we don't want them to come out of pocket to pay their home. And so what we do is we have a special way that we buy them, which is totally allowed by the VA. And that's that what we do is we would pay your commission and the closing costs and give the seller a little bit of cash. We try to come as close to the asking price as possible, and then we take over their payments. Do you think that's something they'd be interested in? Have you had any offers on the house?
We have had one off, but I think if it's a quick close, I think that might be something that they might be interested in.
Okay. Well, that's great, because one of the benefits of the way that homes, by taking over the payments, is we don't have to qualify, we don't have to go to the VA, we don't have to go to the bank. And so we are able to move quickly if all the numbers work for them, for us, and for you, then we're able to buy very quickly. So do you think that that's something they may be able to, might be interested in?
I think so.
Okay. Have you ever done one of those kinds of transactions before? It's called subto, meaning we buy the home subject to existing financing that's on the property, and it means taking over their payments. Have you ever done one of those before?
I have not.
Oh my God, Lamar, you are in for a treat to learn how to do it this way, because since you're in the military, since you have military sellers, have a lot more, I'm sure that this will give you an incredible additional way to help those people who need to sell and move quickly. So what is, if it works for you, and send you a, which is not actually written on regular documents, but what we would do is called a letter of intent, and then we would just outline the way, the terms in which we would like to buy the house, and that way you can take a look at it. We can go over any questions you have, and then we can also get on a Zoom with your sellers and explain how that would work to see if they would be interested. How that sound?
Sounds like it works.
Great. Let me make sure I have you. Oh, can I get your mail address, please?
That's just going to be Lamar. That's LAMAAR.
Okay.
.M.
Garrie.
Like Mary.
Okay.
Pernell, my last name. That's PERNELL.
Okay.
2016.
Okay.
At iCloud.com.
Okay, so it's Lamar.m Pernell 2016 at iCloud.com.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so we work something up, and then I will send it over to you. We can have a conversation, answer any question you have, and then maybe schedule a Zoom so that we can talk to your sellers about that. Okay.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, man.
All right. Thank you so much. My name is Garrie Wein. I'm just gonna my information, and I will send that over to you. Give you a call, and we'll go from there. How's that?
That works. Thank you, man.
All right. You have a wonderful. Bye-bye.
Garrie, 2 for 2. Killed it. So Lizane's on call, I think. Let me tell you what I thought about that call. I'm going to give you a couple of things that I would probably change just a little bit.
I love some feedback.
So The way that what I told you before after your first call, the way that you build rapport with people, the way that you slow things down allows you to ask questions that I wouldn't be able to ask just with my style. And I think it really benefited you here. What I picked up on personally is that this agent is either kind of newish or does it kind of part-time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's because of the, he said that he lives in the neighborhood, right?
Right.
He's helping a neighbor. He has an iCloud account, an email account. I would think that if he was actively working as a real estate agent, he would probably have a different type of email.
Right, exactly.
Those are just kind of little things that I picked up on. Let's see. Okay, so great job building rapport. It allowed you to ask the question that you needed to ask, which was, would the seller be open to this type of a sale? Which he said 2 or 3 times, by the way. After the second time, what I personally would have done is moved into, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you over either a contract, I'm going to send you over an offer, I'm going to do whatever this part is. That's what I wrote down.
Okay.
However, what you did is very different than what I would have done and speaks to your unique calling style. What you did is you said something like, have you ever done a transaction like this before? Which allowed you to respond to his never doing a deal in a way that he's going to remember. And Lizane, did you pick up on that too?
That was my favorite part of the call.
Me too.
So, and she was genuinely excited for him because this is going to help him in the future. Like, yeah, that was the cutest thing ever. I loved it. And he was, you were so excited for him because he is going to learn a new skill that he needs to know.
Yep.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. And, he wasn't the most excitable person ever,
no.
But he heard every word you said. And what he really wants to do is speed up the process for these sellers, right?
Yep.
I wrote down here that they want a quick close. You did a fantastic job of leaning into that, saying, the best part about the way that we purchase is that we can close on your schedule as quickly or as slowly as you want us to. If you said we need to close next week, we could get that done for you because we don't have to qualify, because we aren't using a new bank, because we're doing X, Y, and Z. You did amazing leaning into that. I thought that was awesome. One thing I did not like about that though, and I think that this is actually pretty important. I do this all the time too. You said something like, this is totally allowed by the VA. I wrote that down and put it in quotes. Totally allowed by the VA. Anytime you put something out there like, oh yeah, don't worry, it's totally legal, or the VA allows you to do it, what that does, what does it do to you, you think, in your head?
Oh yeah, it says, well, why would she say that if, maybe there is some question about that. They doubt, but I never thought of it that way. Thank you so much for that feedback, because that's perfect. You don't want to create doubt, and so It's only if they did doubt it, then you could say it, but not in this, right?
And address their doubt directly, make them ask the question, as opposed to put that seed in their mind of, I know that this is unfamiliar to you. Don't worry, it's legal. And they're going to go, wait, hold on a second.
Why are you saying that?
Why are you saying that? Oh my God. Thank you for catching that. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Yep. So that's the only thing that I think I would mention. You also said something that I thought was really funny. You asked about a net sheet. He said no. And your response was, well, that's perfectly understandable. And I go, no, that's not perfectly understandable. Their job is to give their
mind, I was saying, well, you're a new agent, even though I haven't talked about that. And it's perfectly understandable because I didn't, that was, I was talking to my silent
thoughts.
Conversation in my head. It's okay. Any better?
This guy's new, right? Her conversation was this guy's in her head was this guy's new without telling him. We could tell you're new.
Right. Yeah, I didn't want to, offend him. I only wanted to bolster him. But, we could work. But you're right. I could have said, so would you have said, Mike, did we say?
Well,
If
I think
he said,
that's a really tough situation to be in, right? Because you're asking if they've done a net sheet. I typically won't ask if they've done a net sheet. I'll say something like, hey, based on the numbers that I've run here, it looks like the seller's probably walking away with X amount, or it looks like they might even have to pay a little bit at close. Do you have similar numbers on your net sheet?
oh, that's so great. Okay. So let me ask a question about the numbers on this lead sheet really quick, if that's okay. I mean, I didn't want to interrupt. You have something more that you wanted to add. Really appreciate feedback, on both sides, what I did well, but I
Go
can
ahead.
do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So on this cash, it says equity percent, which in this case is a little 11.21%. The equity is 35,301, and cash to seller is 10,101. Is that after that? That would be the net after closing costs and commissions. Is that what the estimate is?
Yep. So the equity position is just basically the difference between the asking price and what they owe. And then you go to the next column, and the next column is the dollar amount of equity, right? So in this case, it's $35,000. And then you go to the last one, which is, you're exactly right, it's the net in a traditional sale. So you take out 6% commission, you take out a couple of points of closing costs, any repairs that are needed. So we're taking out, I think we're taking out on our side, once we look at that 8% in total, I think that's what RocketBots is doing as well, is they're taking out that same amount. So that's the number that I would always reference, is say something like, look, it looks like they're walking away with about $10,000 or so. And of course, you're brand new to the market. Have you gotten any offers? If not, I would kind of lean into the idea of, what's going to happen 30 days from now? I know that sellers have to move quick. Are they prepared to lower the price? And if so, are they prepared to see how that affects them as a net when they do close? Because that $10,000 is today's price, right? It's not if they do a price adjustment.
Right. Based on the listing price and everything else. So, yeah.
Exactly. But other than that, I thought you did awesome. As usual, I love your style so much. You connect with agents in a way that's really unique. And it allows me to ask questions that I can ask.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. One thing I didn't say at the beginning in terms of my background is many years ago in another life, I was a state agent. So I'm really able to empathize and understand. And although being an agent today is very different than I was an agent with, so much more electronic things and, and the deposit receipts being 1,000 pages, long and everything else, and more disclosures than ever. I do understand where they're coming from, and I do, want to try to, make up their allies so that we can, do business with everyone. We can help seller, we can help them, and we can help us too. So,
it's interesting, Garrie, you never mentioned that in either one of your phone calls today. I don't think, unless I missed it.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't.
I think that's such a strong point to mention. If you are a licensed agent, that's a great way to connect with other agents, because they respect other agents a lot more than they respect Mike Jackson Cullen, who is not currently licensed. You know what I mean?
I don't have my license anymore. I gave it up.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I still have that situation. So I do, occasionally I will, depends on the situation, like what seems more relevant to try to connect with them.
Yeah.
Hey, Garrie, if someone want to reach out to you to help them close a deal, how would they contact you?
They can contact me at Island Dream 99. Oh wait, no, let me change that. I'm sorry. It's they can reach me at clickstarhomes@gmail.com.
Perfect. Lizane, you're an expert closer. If someone want to reach out to you directly, how would they do that?
They'd go through you.
They'd go through me, and then I'd refer you to Lizane. So, ladies, thank you guys so much. It's so good to see you guys.
This was fantastic.
I'm glad you guys had fun. I had fun too.
We did.
Make sure you guys sign up for the calls.